Now, we're on to what all of you have been waiting for, how Princess Mononoke is very naughty. After Ashitaka's exile is decided, Kaya, a girl who admires and loves him, stops him at the exit of the village. Here, Kaya confesses her love and says, "I'll be longing you forever," and gives Ashitaka a small dagger made of obsidian. When Ashitaka receives it, he gives this super handsome smile and says, "Me too, I will always think about you." This line by Ashitaka actually means, "I will not fall in love with anyone else in the future for the rest of my life." And Ashitaka, who receives the crystal dagger, says in such a good-looking smile. That's why quite a lot of female audience don't like this scene, or they say, "That's what I hate about Ashitaka." It's because a girl gives him a confession of a lifetime, which he responds to with a handsome smile, also receives a dagger made of precious obsidian from her, and without any hesitation, he later gives it to another girl, Sam, who has the exact same voice as Kaya, which is no surprise because they are both voiced by the same actress, Yuriko Ishida. Not only that, he gives it through a dog. Instead of giving it to her directly, he's like, "Give this to San, please," and the dog is like, "Yes, sir." And then when the dog gives it to San, she's like, "Oh, beautiful," and she makes this romantic facial expression. And those lady audience watch this scene and be like, "What is wrong with this anime?" Sure, it's natural for them to get mad. And at the end of the movie, they say to each other, "Hey, I'll come and see you again sometime." "Oh yeah, come. And we're like, the curse is removed, so stop flirting, go home and meet Kaya. And this anguished voice that says, "Hurry up and come back to the village," is even written on Ghibli's official guidebook. In this book title, Ghibli's textbook, Princess Mononoke, which is an official book by Ghibli, a female writer wrote, "This is what I find unacceptable about Ashitaka." I get the anger, but in fact, the scene with Kaya at the exit of village is not what you think it is. Everything that's depicted works as a symbol. This is what I explained earlier, that in Princess Mononoke, Miyazaki created the movie with the mind that he will depict everything that was necessary, but not in a way that everybody gets it. At the outskirts of the village, a girl comes to see him secretly and gives him a so-called mark of chastity, which means that she will not fall in love with anyone else for the rest of her life, which connotes that they had sex secretly. However, Miyazaki didn't want to portray sex directly, so he expressed it metaphorically through the line, "I will preserve chastity," in the act of Kaya giving the dagger to Ashitaka. But in reality, Kaya and Ashitaka were hiding and having sex. That's how the bloodline of Ashitaka remains in Kaya, and their descendants tell the legend of Prince Ashitaka through the pattern of the clay mask, which is shown in the opening of the movie. But because Miyazaki is shyer than anyone else, he didn't make his expressions straightforward. There's actually another episode about sex in Princess Mononoke. It's a scene where wounded Ashitaka is nursed by San and wakes up after many days of suffering. In a cave where San lives, Ashitaka stares at her while she's asleep. At this time, she has this innocent expression on her face, and on top of that, her leg is showing. Suzuki saw the storyboard of the scene and it rang a bell for him, so he asked Miyazaki, "At this point, they have had sex, didn't they?" When someone asks Miyazaki a question like that about his work, he usually responds and gives a clear answer such as "that's true" or "yes, it is." However, to this question, he didn't give any answer. Suzuki told his story during a radio broadcast and he sounded so happy. Suzuki kept on questioning Miyazaki afterwards. Then according to him, Miyazaki finally said, "It's self-explanatory, isn't it?" That's the kind of aesthetical approach Miyazaki took in Princess Mononoke. In Ashitaka and Kaya's village, the fact a woman goes to see a man in the middle of the night alone would be considered that they had a physical relationship. Moreover, Kaya does not say, "Take me with you," or complain about Ashitaka leaving. That's because they already had sex, and she has conceived a child. Ashitaka's bloodline remains in this village, and Kaya inherits it. In other words, if you ask Miyazaki, he'd say, "If you watch this scene and can't figure out, you'll never understand my movie in the first place." I mean, how the hell are we supposed to figure that out? When this movie came out, I watched it in the movie theaters many times, then I watched it again on VHS and DVD later, but I could never tell. When I watched it on Blu-ray to get ready for this broadcast, I finally got it and thought, oh, that's what it was. And I got it only after hearing Suzuki say, "They did it. Sun and Ashitaka were having sex." This is a different creative approach in comparison to other works that Miyazaki took when he made Princess Mononoke, which was to depict what is necessary. When a man and a woman from such conservative tribes meet at the night they part, that means they already had a relationship. Like that, Miyazaki wanted to depict the fact that they had a sexual relationship, but he didn't want to express it, and that's his aesthetics. Therefore, the reason why the design which represents Ashitaka as a symbol of greatness of our ancestors is carved onto the clay mask on the title screen is because Kaya left Ashitaka's bloodline in this Jomon village. Later, Miyazaki spoke in an interview as many people asked about this. A female writer and a female Ghibli staff members asked him, why did Ashitaka keep flirting with Sun instead of going back to Kaya, who was waiting for him in the village? Miyazaki responded to their questions and said, well, after the story was over, Ashitaka might have returned to that village. He might even have taken Sun with him to the village. He might have taken Sun home, let Kaya meet her, and married both of them, because the story takes place in that kind of a world. This is that kind of story. It's a story about a royal family. I just didn't depict them in the movie. But modern day people have to be explained to think, so he's a king during ancient Japan? Then okay, maybe it's natural. Otherwise we have to apply our modern perspective to the story and think, he takes Sun home and married both girls? What the hell?